Following program contains language and subject matter that you may consider unsuitable for children. Parental discretion is advised.
Greetings, Earthling. His Highness the Jackals.
The Jackals.
I'm going to pass the reins to Mr. Jackal, the new king of radio.
I think Jackal's Latino. I'm not sure, but he'll give it to you good.
The Jackals.
Live on PSN-radio.com, the home of Inside the Jackals head from day one. Hope everybody's had a good evening so far. It's been a terrific, hilarious week. Have a lot to get to. And hopefully everybody is nice and comfortable and ready to have a good time tonight. Have a fantastic show. And I know I say that every week that I'm live, when I'm live. Had a great time with Tim Schwartz last show, and I want to give him a shout out. Fantastic episode after we got through our Skype issues, which I hope does not occur tonight. So I hope we have a smooth sailing. Tonight we have a return guest on this episode, September 29th, 2019. We have the return of Mr. Mack Maloney, one of our favorites here on the show. And shout outs to him. He'll be on with us for about 30 minutes during the second hour tonight. And I always look forward to speaking to Mac. I've known him for many years now. He, of course, is involved himself in podcasting like we do here. That's right, folks. Contrary to the beliefs of some other hosts out there who shall remain nameless, this is podcasting radio on the internet. And Mack Maloney is a longtime friend of the show and myself, and I look forward to having him on for about half an hour. Of course, Mack created the long-running Wingman series. And when I say long, I'm talking about just like the RV I purchased recently, and I'm going to tell you how to see that in a minute. But he sold over 1 million copies so far, up to May 2017. He had 18 books out on the Wingman series, and I think he might have some new material to talk about tonight. Hopefully, some good material that we can all, go and purchase and support, because he is a fantastic author, and he has a great show. I mean, the show is all over the place. He's like Inside the Jackals head, but with multiple personalities on the actual show. It's not just like him doing funny voices. He actually has other co-hosts and stuff that he can count on. I'm trying to see if I can get a sidekick going. I might bring back an old voice. So there might be a voice coming back inside the Jackals head for maybe a little bit. We'll find out more soon about who that might be. I've opened the door for a return of an old voice. I'll just leave it at that for now. Now, Mac also wrote the popular Chopper Op series, Super Hawk series, and the Pirate Hunter series. So we're going to have a fun time with him. He's also very political. He's from up north in the Boston, Mass area, and that's always fun to talk about because there's always sports, stuff to discuss. And we're both baseball and sports junkies on the side of the more serious ufological and government conspiratorial stuff that we speak about. Now, I do have a couple news clips I want to get to on audio and some stuff that I've prepared. That's right, I have some news that I've prepared to share with the audience tonight, and I'm going to do that in a second. I don't want to get too in-depth into just nonsense stuff, but I do want to, get to some serious stuff. But I did, hint earlier that I have some new pictures. If you guys want to check them out, they are currently live. I said new pictures. New, Pete, new. Pete's like waving at me on the other side of the board, and he's like, no! He thinks I said nude. Not nude. New pictures. N-E-W. Okay. Go to my website, angelespino.com. That's ANGELESPINO.com. Or you could actually also go there if you want by going to thejackal.com. THAJACKAL.com. If you don't know that by now, shame on you. What the hell are you doing listening to the show? You should know that by now. Seriously. Like, that shit has not changed in years. Where the hell have you been? I mean, have you not been paying attention at all? But go there, click on galleries, or gallery, and you're going to see 2 new pictures. I have a nice red hat on, and in the background you're going to see not my boat, but you'll see a big ass RV. That's mine. Just purchased it recently, and next few months, maybe next year, after I have my surgery, I'm going to be taking a ride across the land. And somebody just texted me, "That's a big RV." I don't know if you heard the phone going off. But, yeah, it is. It's a 34-foot RV. Let me lower the audio on my phone. I forgot to do that. Professional podcasting, folks. That's what we do here on PSN-Radio. Hopefully I'm coming in nice and clear, and if not, it's your fault because everything's working A-okay on my end. We had some Skype issues last week, and we've been having, Skype is a funny thing, and the technology is ever rapidly changing and updating, and last week it did an update right before the show and kind of screwed the whole thing up, and so far so good. So hopefully we have clear audio. On mine, everything looks neat and nice. And again, I cannot wait to talk to one Mr. Mack Maloney during the second hour. Now we're going to have a brief, half hour with Mac because I know he's a busy man. He's probably writing his 300th book by now. Like I said, he's written a lot of books, guys. I'm going to just sit down one day and see if I can type out a sentence worthy of being in a book, see where that gets me. And maybe I could string some words together and come out with a chapter or two. And who knows, maybe by the time I'm 60, I'll have a book together. A book. And then, yeah, the big time, baby. Start making that ufology money, or that paranormal money, or whatever kind of money from whatever genre the book lands in. Might be a self-help book. You never know. By the way, I'm down, let's see, started my diet back in October of last year, and I'm down now about 84 pounds since I started my diet. If you see that picture there, if you were to see the before, you'd be like, God damn. But a lot has changed, and it's going to keep going down, hopefully, and the health is getting better. Hopefully the voice is getting clearer. I try to listen to the podcast as much as I can. Everybody that I know hates the sound of their own voice. I'm not too fond of it, but some people tell me, you have a great radio voice. I think what they're trying to avoid is telling me that you don't have a face for TV. I think that's really what it is. But I digress. Hopefully the voice is getting better on your end. Now, I did say I have some actual news to go over that is just not me related, even though we are living in a Me Too culture. And that's part of the problem here. We seem to have a little bit of a problem. Everybody wants to now convict people without properly, giving them a trial. I believe this country has that whole innocent to proven guilty thing, right? Like, that's still part of the country law. Maybe I got that wrong. I'm not sure. But let's see. Where to start? Oh yeah, this is beautiful. This, one thing we've all like, at least, maybe not all of us, but at least, when we were younger, we all experimented, right? With drugs, booze, partying. When you're a kid, you try stuff. Now, as you get older, you stop doing all that, crap because you realize, maybe having too much to drink, it's not good when you're going to hit the road. Maybe snorting a pound of cocaine a night is not a good thing. Maybe smoking 2 ounces of weed is not a good thing. Whatever your habits are. I've been straight edge kind of like for a very long time. I haven't had a drop of alcohol in 14 and a half now. Very proud of that. I never smoked a cigarette in my life. I'm very proud of that. Don't smoke cigars. Let me see. I don't do any hard drugs like coke or anything like that. But there's a funny article, and this is from DailyMail.com. It says, Catholic priest is caught on video snorting cocaine in a room full of Nazi memorabilia? Are you serious? Now, I'm going to post this over on our Facebook page. If you guys want to follow along, check out the website on Facebook. I know everybody has Facebook. Just go to facebook.com/Inside the Jackals Head, and that's my main show website. I'm posting it right now, so you can check that out. Roman Catholic priest filmed snorting cocaine on church grounds. Now, if it wasn't for the fact there probably would be some kind of copyright issue, I'd play that whole Charlie Murphy, skit with Rick James. So he says, cocaine's a hell of a drug. But let's, just on the surface, that's a funny story. Now I'm going to read this. It says, videoed in a room filmed with Nazi memorabilia. This is the moment a Roman Catholic priest snorted a line of cocaine at a party in his house on church grounds. Father Stephen Cresson, oh yeah, he was getting it on, who was 37, so he's a young father of the coke. It says here, is said to have sniffed a Class A drug through a $10 note. So that's a holy 10. At the end of the night of drinking beers and whiskey. In the footage, and you can see it right on the dailymail.co.uk, it says in the footage, he is heard saying, I shouldn't before snorting the white powder off a plate while talking to a friend. Whatever the hell that means. Let me read that again. Check this out. Let me try. I shouldn't, before snorting the white powder off a plate while talking to a friend. I shouldn't. Before snorting the white powder off a plate while talking to a friend. Oh, I shouldn't. You shouldn't molest kids, Roman priests. Oh, I shouldn't. Jerk. Now, it's one of those things it's like when you get into a fight with like some dude who's bigger than you, and you're like surrounded by your friends, and you're like trying to act tough so you don't look like a big old giant puss, and you're like, hold me back. You whisper to one of your friends, and like he holds you back, and then you try to act macho and be like, yeah, man, I'm gonna fuck you up, I'm gonna beat you down, stomp you out, while your friend's holding you back because you're about to wet yourself. That's kind of like the, well, I really shouldn't, but pass the cocaine plate. Oh yeah, the video obtained by the Sun on Sunday. Great. is said to have been recorded at the end of 2 days of partying when Father Croissant invited friends to his parish home. And he says he admitted to taking drugs, telling newspapers Ruth Warrander that it was just the one night, and that was it. I don't have an issue with drugs. A source said a number of revealers that went back to Father Croissant's house at 11 a.m. for 7 hours, where they were memorabilia. Well, that escalated pretty quickly, right, guys? From stony cocaine to Nazi memorabilia, holy moly. After the party, host asked them to leave. The memorabilia included, by the way, flags, hats, and an eagle with a swastika on a plinth on the Father Croissant's mantelpiece. Now, the source added, it was all over the house. At one point, Stephen put on a cap and did the Nazi salute. Are you serious? Oh my God. Pete, by the way, and the other side of the board gave me this link and told me, you gotta read this, boss. You gotta read this on air. This is funny stuff. Now I'm going to continue here. It says, and I quote, it's shocking. He's supposed to be an upstanding member of society. He shouldn't be taking drugs. The source also said Father Croissant had been drinking beers and Jack Daniels whiskey as well as taking the cocaine. Of course, don't mention the Nazi stuff going on. Just the drugs and the booze and the partying. But, no mention of the fact that he has Nazi memorabilia, right, so far. Father Croissant lives on the grounds of the St. Patrick's Church in Banbridge, North Ireland, denied being a Nazi, and said, the memorabilia. It was there because, he said he collects historical stuff. He collects historical stuff. I wonder if he has, collections going all the way back to, the concentration camps or something like that. He probably would get along with AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, as POTUS 45 would call her. Cortez. Now, he said he had depression and was sick. And it was actually, on sick leave when the footage was taken. Oh, I got depressed. I had to be on sick leave because somebody recorded me snorting cocaine off a plate. Father Croissant said he had left the church but was being backed by the parish. Well, the spokeswoman for the bishop said the priest would be supported through his issues because, who cares? It's a little cocaine, some Nazi stuff, Father Croissant here studied for priesthood at St. Patrick's College, Maynooth, and completed his in theology in 2007. I wonder what kind of theology that was, and if it had anything with salute to, Mein Kampf type salute. I'm going to continue the salute there. During his years at Maynooth, he said he was involved in various pastoral activities, including prison and hospital chaplaincy. According to the parish website, no mention of he touched any little kids. He was appointed to St. Patrick Parish as in 2012, and before this served as curate in St. Peter's Parish, Lurgan, in the parish of Tululish, yeah, whatever. He should get it in the Tululish. That doesn't shock me, and of course they sweep it under the rug. But if you want to read the article for yourself and know that I'm not making this stuff up, it's posted on my website. Again, you can go to the Jackal on Facebook by looking it up on Facebook.com/Inside the Jackal's Head. It's right on there. First link is from Daily Mail, and it has the guy sniffing coke. Hysterical. I'm being asked, let's see, a few folks are asking me about the picture of myself with the red hat on. Let's see, on Facebook, Akeem is asking me, which era specifically are you referring to when you wear that hat? I posted back, well, the 80s were the shit. And of course, it becomes, racial immediately. Oh, you mean when, renting, black people into poor neighborhoods was at the highest, when loans were at the worst for black and Hispanic families, and the fact that Reagan started borrowing from Social Security, and also, wouldn't even mention AIDS until millions were dead. Tell me the only thing about the 80s that were great was the culture, usually Democrat. Give you the rest of the culture, the only Democrat politician who fucked up was Tipper Gore. Now, obviously, this guy didn't get the joke or the memo or has no sense of humor, so I'm going to write back. The show, different strokes, and let me see, Silver Spoon were fantastic. Also, Knight Rider and Star Wars all had a cool run in the 80s. And let's not forget Indiana Jones. What else could I put on here for Akeem? Somehow I think you need to go home and rethink your life. Okay. See, here's the problem. People on the left sometimes have no sense of humor. Obviously, when I say the 80s, I'm joking. Akeem, you big buffoon. I hope he listens to this episode. I'm going to post it, and he's going to hear me typing out an answer. Normally, I wouldn't do that, folks, but let me explain something. When I say that, we need to go back to a time where this country was great again, has something to do with race, has to do with economy, has to do with the simple fact that, people weren't acting as bananas as they're acting now. There wasn't a movement towards socialism as there is now. Guess what? I came to this country from a socialist country, which has become a shithole because of socialism. The same kind of crap that's ruined Venezuela, ruined my Cuba, and that's what Ocasio-Cortez and the fraud squad want to bring to the United States. And the one guy who's saying, not on my watch, is the guy you guys want to impeach? Hold on a second now. This has been a fantastic week when it comes to news because it's been the hypocrisy clear as day. The agenda is all for everyone to see. I know everybody has been listening in or, intently at every single word that's being said from either the left or the right whether it's on CNN, NBC, MSNBC, Fox News, whatever the media outlets that you listen to, whoever your favorite pundits are, Hannity, Jesse Waters, Rachel Madcow, whoever the hell you listen to or watch, Rush Limbaugh, whoever. The one thing that's perfectly clear, and I've read word for word that conversation with the Ukraine president, okay? In fact, it's on my website, angelespino.com. If you want to read it, it's right on there. And Nancy Nasty Pelosi, before the report even was out in the air, out in the open, said, well, we have to impeach because this is damning evidence. This is outrageous. He is conspiring into a conspiracy, and this conspiracies, and he's dealing with Ukraine and pressuring them, and there's like 18,000 mentions of Biden and this and that. So they're going on with impeachment, and she was asked, have you seen the report? I mean, did you hear the conversation? Well, no. Haven't seen anything, haven't actually heard the phone call, but, I was told it was bad. So I got impeached because somebody told her that he was involved in nefarious activities. So you must impeach. This is how crazy the left has become. On hearsay, they're trying to impeach the president. Now let me explain something to you. I have the transcript, guys. I'm going to, in fact, go over it. This is part of what I wanted to go over tonight, because the entire thing is out. The president is not conspiring on anything. There's no conspiracy on his part. Again, I read it. The whistleblower, who has every right to come forward and say, hey, listen, I was told this or I heard that or whatever. Just like the president has every right to defend himself, and also has every right to face his accuser. The left wants to cover who the whistleblower is, which is nonsense, because this is clear as day part of the conspiracy. Think about this, folks. And I'm going to go over the unclassified copy here in a minute. Think about this for a second. Here we have the president talking to another president who just got put into leadership in his country. They're having a friendly conversation, which is what this was. And in the conversation, President Zelensky of Ukraine, a newly elected president, says, thank you, and you're absolutely right, Mr. President. We did win big. We worked hard for this. We worked a lot. But I would like to confess to you that I had an opportunity to learn from you. We used quite a few of your skills and knowledge, and were able to use it as an example for our elections. And yes, it's true, there were unique elections. These were unique elections. We were in a unique situation, and we were able to achieve a unique success. Okay, he says, I'm able to tell you the following. The first time you called me to congratulate me when I won my presidential election, and the second time you are now calling me to when my party won the preliminary election, I think I should run more often, so you can call me more often, and we can talk over the phone more often. So as you can tell, this is the second conversation these guys have had, right? So far, very friendly. Now, that is Zelensky talking to the president after the President Trump started off with congratulations on a great victory we all watched from the United States, and you did a terrific job the way you came from behind. No sexual reference, guys. That's the way Trump said it, okay? Now he says the way you came from behind, somebody who wasn't given much a chance, and you ended up winning easily. It's a fantastic achievement. Congratulations. So far, nothing. And then, of course, I read to you President Zelensky's reply. You're absolutely right, Mr. President. And now let's go back to our president. After Zelensky says that we should have more phone calls, and we should talk more often. The president called back, said, "That's a very good idea. I think your country is very happy about that." And Zelensky replied with, "Well, yes, to tell you the truth, we are trying to work hard because we want to drain the swamp here in our country. We brought in many, many new people, not old politicians, not the typical politicians, because we want to have a new format, a new type of government. We are a great, and you are," he said, "you are a great teacher for us." In that's when Trump came in and said, "Well, it's very nice of you to say that. I will say that we do a lot for Ukraine. You know, we spend a lot of effort and a lot of time, much more than European countries are doing, and they should be helping you more than they are." I'm going to pause for a second before I continue reading. When they met on TV, even Trump then said that other countries should, help them more than they have been. And Zelensky said, more than, we don't need your help, we need your support. That's a very strong president, and, I applaud him for answering like that. That's a very good answer, because sometimes, help is great, but when you have other countries supporting you to end corruption, to clean or drain the swamp, to actually do good things for the people, and you're supporting each other and you're building bridges, that is good. That's the opposite of what happens on the left. Now, it says here, and I'm going to continue, it says, "Germany does almost nothing for you," says President Trump. "All they do is talk," and I think it's something that you should really ask them about. When I was speaking to Angela Merkel, she talks Ukraine, but she doesn't really do anything. Now, nobody's, said anything about that, and he spoke about Angela Merkel, name drop. Never hasn't spoken about Biden once yet. A lot of the European countries are the same way, so I think it's something you should really look into or look at. But the United States has been very, very good to Ukraine. I wouldn't say that it's reciprocal necessarily, because things are happening that are not good, but the United States has been very, very good to Ukraine. So far, that sounds like, Trump all the way. That's the way he speaks. He's always telling you, hey, we've done good for you. And by the way, the president has every right to negotiate however the hell he wants, as long as he's not bribing them with money or extorting or doing something that's crazily illegal, which is nowhere on this call so far. And there's nothing on the rest of this that is illegal. Again, the president also has, the power of the office to speak at in ways that we might have. Now, Zelensky replies with, he says, "Yes, you are absolutely right. Not only 100%, but actually 1,000. And I can tell you the following. I did talk to Angela Merkel, and I did meet with her. I also met and talked with Macron, and I told them that they are not doing quite as much as they need to be doing, and the issue is that the sanctions, they are not enforcing the sanctions. They are not working as much as they should work for Ukraine." It turns out, even though logically the European Union should be our biggest partner, but technically the United States is a much bigger partner than the European Union. And I'm very grateful to you that, because the United States is doing quite a lot for for Ukraine, much more than the European Union, especially when we are talking about sanctions against the Russian Federation. Now, this is the first time Russia really has brought into this seriously, and is by Zelensky. Okay, I would also like to thank you for your great support in that area of defense. We are ready to continue to cooperate for the next steps. Specifically, we are almost ready to buy more javelins from the United States for defense purposes. And it continues on here. It says, the president replies with, I would like for you to do us a favor, though because our country has been through a lot and Ukraine knows a lot about it, I would like you to find out what happened with the whole situation with Ukraine. They say CrowdStrike. I guess you have one of your wealthy people, the server. They say Ukraine has it. There were a lot of things that went on. The whole situation, I think you're surrounding yourself with some of the same people. Okay, now let's stop there for a second. The CrowdStrike, that's a company. You guys can look it up and find out more information. I'm short on time, so I'm not going to get too deep into who they are, but they're in the center of the entire 2016 election hoaxing. Okay? They're behind everything that happened for the last 2.5 years. This is our president basically asking him, hey, do us a favor, since you're trying to get, rid of corruption. Something happened in the past. Can you look into it? Because, we need to air these people out, because you might be surrounding yourself with the same people. This is solid advice from one, leader to a new leader. Okay? This is how I would talk to somebody who I'm trying to give advice to. Now, I'm going to continue. It says, I would like, let me see. I would like to have the Attorney General call you or your people, and I would like you to get to the bottom of it. As you saw yesterday, the whole nonsense ended with a very poor performance by a man named Robert Mueller, and an incompetent performance, which it was. But they say a lot of it started with Ukraine. Now, whatever you can do, it's very important that you do it if that's possible. Okay? Now, Zelensky replied with, yes, it's very important for me, and everything that you just mentioned earlier. For me, as the president, it's very important that we are open for any future cooperation. We're ready to open a new page of cooperation in relations between the United States and Ukraine. For that purpose, I just recalled our ambassador from the United States, and he'll be replaced by a very competent and very experienced ambassador who will work hard on making sure that our two nations are getting closer. I would also like and hope to see him having our trust and your confidence, and having personal relations with you, so we can cooperate even more. And I will personally tell you that one of my assistants spoke with Mr. Giuliani just recently, and we're hoping very much that Mr. Giuliani will be able to travel to Ukraine, and we'll meet once he comes to Ukraine. Note, guys, this is the first time Giuliani is brought in to the conversation as by Zelensky. So far, this is the only time, right? Trump hasn't really mentioned him. Now he says, I just wanted to assure you, once again, that you have nobody but friends around us. I will make sure that I surround myself with the best and most experienced people. I also want to tell you that we are friends, we are great friends, and you, Mr. President, have friends in our country, so we can continue our strategic partnership. I also plan to surround myself with great people, and in addition to that investigation, I guarantee, as President of Ukraine, that all the investigations will be done openly and candidly. That I can assure you. Just like our President Trump has been open about this, released the entire thing, okay? Our president replied back with, good, because I heard you had a prosecutor who was, very good, and he was very good, and he was shut down, and that's really unfair. A lot of people are talking about that, and really, they say they shut your very good prosecutor down, and you had some very bad people involved. Mr. Giuliani is a highly respected man. He was the mayor of New York City, a great mayor, and, I would like for him to call you. I will ask him to call you, along with the Attorney General, Rudy very much knows what's happening. He is a very capable guy. If you could speak to him, that would be great. The former ambassador from the United States, the woman, was bad news. And the people she was dealing with in the Ukraine were bad news. So I just want to let you know that. And the other thing, there's a lot of talk about Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution, and a lot of people want to find out about that. So whatever you could do with the Attorney General would be great. Biden went around bragging that he stopped the prosecution. So if you look into it, it sounds horrible. It sounded horrible to everybody, because if you actually, by the way, guys, and now I'm going off the script for a second here on the unclassified document. This is my personal opinion. If you watch that video of Biden talking about how he, told them, well, if you don't do this, you don't get the money. That's extortion, no matter how you look at it. And he used the president's office with Obama's approval to extort a person out of a position to get their political way. His son cashed in on the whole thing. He was not, capable of the position he was given. He made off with millions of dollars. And Biden, and I'm talking about Hunter Biden, had no experience to be on that kind of a board that he was put into. And, yet he was put on and made a lot of money. You don't think anybody else made money for the first he did? Everybody, even probably President Obama got paid. Now, of course, the left are trying to impeach the president because he's trying to end corruption, and he's trying to say, hey, listen, let's be open about this. Let's see how deep this rabbit hole really goes. And if they did indeed break the law in 2016, I think the American people deserve, this is me personally, the American people deserve to know how this whole thing started. $35 million in 2.5, almost 3 years later, we still are talking about this Russian hoax. And it was Russia, Stormy Daniels, all made up stuff, guys. And now this impeachment inquiry, which doesn't mean anything. They didn't open an impeachment. All this is like, we're going to look into impeachment. But they've been doing that since before the guy even took office. I mean, Nasty Nancy is on record way before talking about, well, he'll never be president. And then he wins. And now it's like, well, he's part of a conspiracy, you see, with her nasty broken teeth. That, by the way, I think those dentures, Nancy, since you are getting older, here's a hint. You might have to get a new set of dentures. You see, something, sadly happens when you age. Your face shrinks. So if you have big dentures like she does, that are now too big for your mouth, when you speak, guess what happens? You look drunker than you probably are. And I'm not saying she's not drunk, because lady looks like she's a drinker. I'm just saying she looks like a drinker. And, I think she's due for a new set. But that's pretty much the gist of what, this whole thing is about. Because he's trying to end corruption. And you could, of course, try to spin it, which that's what they're trying to do. And you can read the entire thing, it's unclassified. But, if this is a conspiracy and the president's trying to, withhold information, this is, the worst conspiracy in the history of any era. Because he's pretty much telling you, here's the phone call, you want to, read the transcript? There it is. Well, it's word for word. Biden wasn't mentioned 45,000 times. It was mentioned, once, maybe twice in there? That's it. The rest is like very nice conversation. It ends with, "Thank you, Mr. President. Bye-bye." And our president saying, "Congratulations on a fantastic job that you've done. The whole world was watching. I'm not sure it was so much of an upset, but congratulations." Now, this is only good to have, open relations with other countries and not be constantly fighting and, causing drama. The left wants to always demonize everybody who they don't get along with. And I wonder why they're going so hard at Trump. Is it because, what happened in 2016 is attached to a lot of folks in Congress that are attacking the president now? There's a lot of stuff, a lot of skeletons here, folks, and check out, some audio dealing with this before we go on break in a few minutes. And we have Mr. Mack Maloney on the show with us, and hopefully he has a thing or two to say about a thing or two. He's going to be on with us for about 30 minutes, and, we're going to hear from his side. And, of course, we're going to find out more about what he's been up to, his show, and a lot of other things. So he'll be on with us in about maybe 10 minutes. And if you guys want to call in, and at any point you can try to Skype us by looking up PSN Radio. And I think the number still works. I haven't had a phone call through that number in a while, but 786-245-8127 is our usual typical call-in number, west of the Rockies, east of the Rockies, even on the other side of Uranus. You can call. Doesn't matter. 786-245-8127 should still be working actively. Now, I say that because the show's only been back for a few weeks. We've been off grid, of course, for the last few weeks, and, it's only been back live for maybe, a month. I have like 4 or 5 episodes in the can, and the last one with Tim Schwartz was a lot of fun. Again, after we got back from the technical problems caused by Skype, or Microsoft, which owns Skype now, by the way. Let's see, I do have something to play here that I wanted to get to. Let me go to that as I hacked a loogie, as they say. Hack a loogie. I wish I had an audio clip for that. Hack a loogie. Let's see. Oh, this is funny. Adam Schiff for Brains? Yeah, that guy. Who's, he's trying to impeach the president also, right? I don't know if you guys are aware of this. This is funny stuff. And I have a lot of other new stuff that I'm going to get to once, Mac is off the air. It's going to only be on for 30 minutes. So I got stuff for after he leaves. But I wanted to get to this, because this is really funny. And we're going to go into a break with this. And when we get back, we're going to have Mac on the show. And we're going to talk to him for about 30 minutes. But this is Adam Schiff for Brains, or Adam Schiffhead, however you want to call this moron, who got pranked by some Russian comedians. And he is taking notes in this audio, trying to get some nudie pictures of POTUS 45. That's right, Adam is trying to get his hands on some Trump's photos of President Trump's trumpet and his 2 noggins, you know what I mean. Supposedly, he really thought they had something here. Check this out. This is funny audio, guys. This shows you how sick in the head not only is this moron, but the rest of the idiots who are trying to impeach the president. Listen to this. We'll be back on the other side of the hour with Mack Maloney. Stick around, guys. This is Inside the Jackal's Head on PSN Radio. Here we go.
All right. I'm going to put Mr. Schiff on the phone, and then I guess, are you going to transfer him to Mr. Parubi?
Yes, of course.
Great. Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
Hello, Mr. Schiff. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
I know that you work for investigation regarding Trump and Russian government.
Yes.
We know some important information about that.
And that is documented as well in materials you want to provide to us?
Yes, could I explain you where we are?
Yes, of course. But, again, I would just caution that our Russian friends may be listening to the conversation, so I wouldn't share anything over the phone that you don't want them to hear.
No, I don't think that it will impact on our investigation.
Yes. Well, please, go ahead then.
In November 2013, Mr. Trump visited Moscow. He visited competition Miss Universe, and there he met with the Russian journalist and celebrity Ksenia Sobchak.
I'm sorry, can you explain that again? While he was in Moscow in November 2013, he met with a journalist and...
Well, she's poor journalist, but anyway, she became famous because of Putin is her godfather.
Okay, Putin's godfather. Okay.
She also known as a person who provide girls for escort for oligarchs, and she met with Trump and she brought him our Russian girl, celebrity Olga Buzova, who also known as a person with a strange reputation.
Olga, and how do you spell her name?
Olga Buzova.
Buzova.
Yes.
Olga Buzova is a friend of the reporter Sobchak?
Yes, she's a friend of reporter, and I think the special agent of Russian Secret Service, Ksenia Sobchak.
That Sobchak is or Olga is?
No, Sobchak is Ksenia.
Okay, and so Buzova met with Trump in New York at some point after the 2013 Miss Universe
Yes.
pageant.
Absolutely, and she got compromising materials on Trump after their short relations.
Okay, and what's the nature of the compromise?
Well, there were pictures of naked Trump.
Okay.
Pictures of naked Trump. Okay. Keep listening, guys. This is funny.
And so Putin was made aware of the availability of the compromising material?
Yes, of course, Buzova shared those materials with Sobchak, and Sobchak shares those materials with Putin, because she's a goddaughter of Putin, and Putin decided to press on Trump.
And the materials that you can provide to the committee or to the FBI, would they corroborate this allegation?
Sure, of course. When they were in Ukraine, we got their conversation by the phone where they discussed those compromising materials. We are ready to provide it to FBI.
So you have recordings of both Sobchak and Buzova where they're discussing the compromising material on Mr. Trump?
Absolutely. And we also know who was a mediator between Trump and Russian government, who met with ex-advisor of Trump, Mr. Flynn. It was the Russian singer, very famous singer, Arkady Ukupnik, who met with Mr. Flynn on Brighton Beach in Brooklyn in a special Russian cafe, Langeron.
What's the name of the cafe?
Langeron.
Langeron?
Yes, it's on the Brighton Beach.
Okay. And
it's a special. It's a Russian district in Brooklyn.
And do you know what was discussed?
They discussed many things, but the most interesting thing is they used the special password before their meetings. When they met each other, they said weather is good on Deribasovskaya.
Weather
it rains.
Is good.
Yeah.
In where?
Weather is good on Deribasovskaya. There is a name of a street in Odessa.
Did you hear?
Yes, I did. So it's a street in Odessa.
Yes.
And the code word is weather is good on Deribasta?
Deribasovskaya. Deribasovskaya.
Deribasovskaya. Okay. And I'll have my staff follow up to get spellings and more details on that.
Yes.
And the second part of their password was it rains again on Brighton Beach.
It rains again on Brighton Beach.
Yes.
On that meeting, Ukupnik told Flynn that all those compromising materials will never be released if Trump will cancel all Russian sanctions.
Okay. Well, obviously, we would welcome a chance to get copies of those recordings. So we will try to work with the FBI to figure out, along with your staff, how we can obtain copies of those.
Of course, we will provide you all our copies of all our materials, but I also would like to let you know that Sobchak and Buzova will pretty soon visit our country, and we could read them and deliver them to your embassy, and we also could extradite them to your country, and you can put them to your special jail, Guantanamo.
Well, I'll be in touch with the FBI about this, and we'll make arrangements with your staff. I think it probably would be best to provide these materials to both our committee and to the FBI. And so we'll make arrangements between my staff and yours on how to facilitate that. And we'll also obviously let the FBI know about Busova and Sobchak's planned travel to Ukraine.
I also advise you to check all Sobchak's visits in the U.S. because she was in the U.S. very often, and just to check what she did there actually. And I also would like to look at Russian cafe on Brighton Beach, Langeron, and especially on their head of Russian mafia, Uncle Misha.
Uncle Misha? And
yes.
He's in Brighton Beach?
Yes, he's the head of Russian mafia, and he's located on that restaurant on Brighton Beach.
Okay.
I just want to advise you just look at them, please.
Alrighty. Good. This is very helpful. I appreciate it. Anything else you wanted to add today?
Well, I hope that my information will be useful for you and your committee, and I also would like to advise you, when you or your colleagues will meet Mr. Trump, I advise you to tell him first part of the password on the weather is good on Deribasovskaya, and look how his face will change the color.
And so those passwords were used with Mr. Trump?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We will be back in touch with you through our staff to make arrangements to obtain these materials for our committee and for the FBI, and I appreciate you reaching out to us.
This gentleman who is joining us live, making time for us, is not only a very interesting person because he makes really cool music like this. Yeah, rockin' and rollin'. Listen to that. But he's written 57 books total, 19 on the current Wingman series, and he's a heck of a cool individual himself. And we're just chatting off the air about his sports aficionado love of the game like myself, and of course I'm talking about the one and the only Mack Maloney. Welcome back to Inside the Jackal's Head, my friend. It's been a long time coming.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks, Angel. I'm glad to be back.
Now, let me tell you, you're probably like maybe number 6 or 5th on the list of most requested return guests.
Oh, really? Yeah, okay.
I'm not even kidding. Right. I would say 5th or 6th, mostly because I have a lot of anti-Boston people who listen to the show.
Oh, that's not fair.
Yeah, and they're like, yeah, that guy from Boston, no, we can't. Remember, I'm in Miami. You know the owner of the Marlins?
Oh, I know.
It's Jeter. Yeah. So, you know what I'm saying? I got a lot of Marlins fans listening. They're like, what are you doing being friends with this guy from up north? Like, they took our GM, Dave Dombrowski, away.
Right.
How dare they?
I'd say to them, what are you doing being Marlins fans? Come on, get real.
Amen to that. Oh my goodness! But how the hell are you, man? It's been a while. Good. You've been good.
Yeah. Yep. Doing a lot of writing and doing our own radio show and doing the music. So all three things kind of keep me busy, you know.
Last time I spoke to you on the air, we spoke about new music coming out and what's been on in that area, because I love the CD you sent me. I play it all the time here, not only in my my home. It's actually, believe it or not, Mac, I kid you not, is in my playlist on my phone, and I actually jam onto this when I'm on the road. I put it on. People are like, "What the hell are you listening to?" And I'm like, "Mack Maloney Band."
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that. We just have a new CD coming out within the next I don't know. I'm going to say hopefully out before the end of the year, but
Cool.
by the same guys, and all the songs on have something to do with either UFOs or people that I've met while I've been in the UFO community. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So everything has to do with every song has some kind of connection to UFOs. So yeah, we've been working on that for a long time, and we're just doing the final mixing and mastering on the songs, and hopefully it's going to be done in at least about a month and a half or so.
I can't wait to get my hands on it and listen to it. I'm a huge fan of the music, man. Let me tell you. And it's all, stuff that I love, ufology-based music. Duh. That's one of the main things we do around here. We talk about UFOs. Now, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on. I know you don't like to get political. We're not going to, head down that rabbit hole too deep. But I did want to get, your take on the Space Force. And, I know that, there's been a lot of other talk that's been going around this past couple of weeks dealing with other conspiracies, but I think we're getting close to disclosure on a grand scale, and it's going to come out in driplets and droplets, and I think the Space Force that they're implementing is going to have something to do with it. What are your thoughts on that?
If we talk about the Space Force that just kind of came up in the past couple of years or so, creating, a new Space Force. I mean, there are people out there who claim that we already have this huge Space Force and, it's been flying around the solar system for years and all that stuff. And that stuff I do not believe at all. That just strikes me as being impossible. This new Space Force, we've had the U.S. Space Command for about 20 years. It's headquartered in Colorado. And so I'm assuming this is kind of like an offshoot of that, but, I don't know if you really need a Space Force or not. I suppose at some point you do, but, at the moment, any kind of adversary spacecraft are in orbit, and we have the, thing called the X-37B, which looks like a mini space shuttle. It's automated, though some people have told me that they could actually put people inside it if you had to. And it looks like a 1/4 size version of the space shuttle. It goes up, it's in orbit all the time. According to the military, they say that it's doing atmospheric testing, but what a lot of people believe it is that, it's basically an orbiting kind of satellite killer. So when time, if it ever came to it, this thing would be up there, zapping all of our adversaries' orbiting spacecraft, spycraft, GPS, stuff like that.
Right.
So we already have a Space Force, I guess is what I'm saying.
So why is this time now the right time for them to announce it? I mean, to me that's kind of suspicious. Given by the way the fact that we have, of course, Donald Trump in office, who, as I spoke to Tim Swartz last show, is the nephew of John Trump, who read the Tesla, documents, supposedly. And, of course, we know what happened chronologically. We had his death. We had the war ended with the Nazis. We inherited the Nazi scientists. A couple of years after that, we had Roswell in 1947. To me, that's always been a downed experiment that we probably were working on. That's not much as maybe aliens were involved. I think a lot of the stuff that we see flying around are our own creation, based on, technologies. We've had this conversation many times. Yep. And I think we're on the same page on a lot of this stuff.
I agree, yep.
Yeah, but there's a lot of black budget, projects that have gone on. Werner von Braun, who came over from Nazi Germany once he left NASA, a lot of people know this as, classified or not. He, joined parts of the government which dealt with black budget projects, and a lot of the stuff that we might be seeing are the remnants or the things that are come along from his time with them before he passed away himself. There's a lot of stuff that's going on. This is like that's what I keep saying. This is like the beginnings of a self-disclosure. And it's funny that it's in the same era that we have Trump in office and we had his uncle involved, kind of, in the whole Tesla. I mean, we know for a fact his uncle was involved. That's, historically accurate. How much, he saw, if there was actual UFO documents, that is open for debate. But, what's your take on that?
Well, I don't really like politics, and I don't follow it, and we sure don't talk about it on our show. But
yeah, I
just have to say this, is that, I believe that if there was someone in the White House who, if let's just say that when you become inaugurated, that what happens is the CIA sits you down. They tell you like these 4 or 5 things that supposedly turn your hair gray overnight, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Let's say one of them was UFOs. That UFOs exist. I don't believe that the current resident in the White House could keep that a secret for more than like 2 or 3 minutes.
He hasn't. That's a great thing, Mac.
That's why I think there isn't it. I don't think they know. I don't think the U.S. military knows what UFOs are. They have evidence that they have them, but I don't think they know what they are, because if they did, they would have told Tim. He would have told us, and that would be a disclosure.
Well, this is why I say self-disclosure, because he is probably the first sitting president who said openly in an interview that they went to him and they briefed him on it, and while he doesn't, exactly believe that we're being visited by aliens, he believes what his people are telling him within the military, within the folks that are looking at this footage. And I saw the stuff that's been declassified that's coming out from the military, and there's some really exotic technology, Mac. Whether it's ours or some from somewhere else, what I've seen from the military at least looks legit. Doesn't look like it was some kid in his basement creating this stuff.
Right.
I mean, this looks like the real stuff. And if the president is saying, well, they debriefed me on it, that's kind of like almost disclosure, but now how much he's supposed to know, really? I mean, this is a need-to-know basis. It's it's compartmentalized information as it is. So he might be told, here's what we know, hint, quote-unquote, but, he doesn't need to know everything, or maybe he does know more than he's leading on, and he's being coy about it because, of course, being the president, But, of course, you gotta now give him the credit that he's a genius, and he will be
He's not coy about anything.
That's the thing. He doesn't care. Look what happened with the Ukraine now. They said, no, he's conspiracy. He doesn't want to release the documents. And he's like, okay, here's the phone call. Now what? Like, there's no filter. He doesn't care. So I agree with you. I don't think he knows particularly everything.
I don't think he knows. I think what happens is, there are some things, when you really look at it, the president of the United States, at the longest he can be there is 8 years.
Correct.
And so, there's 99% of Washington is made up of people who are there for their careers.
Uh-huh.
And they're there for much more than 8 years. And, some things, he's like any president is kind of a temporary employee, so there are certain things, that they themselves don't know. And I'll give you a really quick example. Back in the 70s, Nixon was touring the San Diego shipyard. He had given a speech and he had given a tour of the shipyard in San Diego. U.S. Navy shipyard is this enormous facility there. And there was a ship docked there, looked kind of odd. And Nixon said, hey, what is that ship? I'd like to go on that. It looks unusual. And they wouldn't give him clearance to go on it. And what it was the Glomar Explorer, which was the ship that Howard Hughes put together. And they had a big claw on it, and they went out and they tried to lift a Russian submarine off the floor of the Pacific. So there was some, and that thing took years to put together. There were just some things that presidents, even the presidents themselves, are not privy to. Now, if they ask for it, or if they really look into it, probably at the end of the tunnel, they would get clearance to see these things, but they're not told just as a matter of course. They're not told automatically. Let's put it that way.
Now, it's funny you say that because, of course, we have now let's flip the script a little bit. We had, of course, in 2016, we had Hillary Clinton, who was running also for office, and she's very interested in the subject of UFOs. Of course, she wanted to get to the bottom of it when Bill Clinton was president, and he inquired about it, was told nothing according to him. She was talking about, looking into it also. She loses the election. Now, of course, Trump, says, well, I've been told this, that, and the other thing. But it seems that, the left is really kind of pushing for disclosure really hard. And that's kind of funny because, they're being kind of mobbed together with the crazies and the kooks and now the UFOs, and that's kind of a black eye for the UFO community, I think, if you're going to go down that tunnel. But do you think that's part of why there's been so much controversy in the last 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, I don't know. We've been doing our show for almost 5 years now, and I can count on, 3 things the times it's ever got political that we've talked, politics as far as UFOs. To me, it doesn't seem like there is any politics involved other than the fact that whoever is in office at that time, we know that, they're, people from the outside are besieging them with freedom of information requests and stuff like that, and no one is ever helpful. That's one thing you can be sure of, no matter who is in there, Democrats or Republicans.
Yep.
They're never, the government itself is never helpful to people trying to, get disclosure.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't think there's any politics in it at all. I think it's just basically, this huge kind of behemoth, which is the American government, which is especially the American military and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Those are tough things to go up against.
Oh, definitely. And it's funny because, Obama was asked about UFOs and he said, I'm not interested in, life out there. I want to talk about life here on planet Earth. And I think we all forget about that. We have a lot of problems here on our planet. Let's kind of focus on this a little bit more also, before we start, messing with the folks up there. Now the Space Force, I think we need that eventually. I think that's going to lead to Space Command outside. Maybe one day Starfleet, but we'll never live to see that. That's right now just a dream that Gene Roddenberry had, and maybe one day we'll make that walk in the future, but unfortunately, I don't think that you or I will see that, or Steve Bassett, or anybody else who's making that dream become a reality, perhaps one day.
Maybe in China it'll become a reality before us.
That's impossible. That's possible. I mean, China is making major moves in the global scale. But let's get off of politics for a second, because I do want to talk about your books here. Wingman, last time we spoke, you were on 18, going on 19. Mm-hmm. 19 books now. There's more books on the way. You were telling me you got 5 books on the pipeline coming out. That's one that I've read in the last year or two, maybe. Like I said, many times, I think I've told you off air, I'm hopeful that I can start writing a book, and by the time I'm 60, I can maybe finish the first chapter at least. Now, you've written a lot of books, 57 in total, 5 more in the pipeline. Tell me that you have, you've upgraded with technology, and you have a speech to tech going on, because...
Oh, I wish. I have one, but it doesn't recognize my Boston accent.
See, that's a problem, guys.
It really is. So, no, just Wingman 19. I've been doing that series for a long time, and the 19th book just came out a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. It's called The Odessa Raid, and then I had a book that came out about 4 or 5 months ago called Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe, and that was just all the research that I had kind of laying around my office, left over from the TV show, from the radio show and different things I did. So, then I have another series coming out. The first book is coming out in December, and it's called Codename Starman. And what that's about is a Navy investigator, a Navy detective who has just a little bit of ESP. And it's based on a guy who comes on our show. His name is Chris R., and he's in NCIS, but he's a kind of like a bodyguard for admirals over in the Pacific and stuff, and a very interesting guy. So I got a couple cases from him, and we turned into this book, Codename Starman. So Right.
Cool.
So I have to write 5 books in the next year and a half, but that's what I do. So why not?
You're a great writer, my friend. Now, how do you have a small case of ESP like this? He guessed the first name but can't get the second name. What's going on?
It's just enough. It's just enough for him to know that when a bad guy's going to throw a punch at him, and he can duck. It's just enough time to duck.
But can he react and punch back, or?
Oh yeah.
Or does he end up getting his ass kicked anyway? Because that would suck.
No. Well, sometimes he's always up 2 seconds, but like when he's in high speed car chases and stuff like that, it comes in to play. On his side for that. You can, if you knew it was happening 2 seconds ahead of time, you're in a car chase, that's an advantage for you, but he can't see far into the future or anything like that. So, this little bit of ESP helps him, solve these cases.
Does he ever hear, in a car chase, does he ever hear, a voice saying, use the force?
Well, no, it's like, turn left or look out.
Turn left. Seek Yoda. He'll tell you where to go next. Yoda controls the GPS. Does he ever hear stuff like that? No.
No. Not yet.
Not yet, no. That'll be later down the road when he gets a little bit older. That's cool. I've never heard of having just a slight case of ESP. It's either full-blown ESP or psychic ability.
No. Right. Yep.
That's new for me also. Now, 57 books, you've covered a lot of spectrum. Obviously, UFO is your forte. UFO is something that we have a lot of connections with, you and I. I've been to MUFON, and I've done the whole spectrum of interviews with just about everybody. And I know that you're familiar with one Stanton Friedman who passed away recently. And, what he meant to the community was just incredible. Whether you supported his work, whether you agreed with him or not. I mean, this is a gentleman who brought forth Roswell to the forefront when nobody was talking about Roswell anymore. If it wasn't for him, Jesse Marcel would not have come forward again. And he made that happen. Did you ever have a chance to meet Stanton or speak to him or interview him?
No, he refused to come on our show. We, invited him a few times through a kind of a middleman who was good friends with him, and he turned us down all the time. I'm sure he's up there in heaven looking down at us, but I think you said it, no one was paying any attention to Roswell until he brought it forward, and since then. It's turned into, let's say, a carnival atmosphere there, and I can tell you why, because Jesse Marcel Jr. now, who was a child when this whole thing happened, and it was his father that gathered the debris, and he actually saw it as a child and so on. He was on our show about 6 months before he passed away, and he couldn't even take it in Roswell anymore. He was living up in Idaho or Iowa when we talked to him. So, Roswell, I think it's. I don't know. I hate to say, and this is a subject for another show, but I think there's a lot of holes in the whole Roswell story, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I said, for years I've looked into it, and I've tried to convince myself there were aliens, but I keep going back to I do think there was an event. I mean, that's without question.
Definitely an event, sure.
Yeah, that's without question at this point. But I'm 100% now convinced that this was some kind of technology that we were experimenting on ourselves. And it's too much coincidence. This is my personal opinion. It's just too much coincidence when you look at who died, who we inherited, when this happened, when the war ended. We got all these scientists from Germany. It's just too many coincidences for this to have been, just some random radar that knocked a bunch of aliens, down. That to me doesn't jive. Especially, and this is the funny thing, you're telling me that these guys who came here from God knows where can't get over something like radar, because that's what everybody says in the community, that they got knocked down by a radar system, knocked them down. But they can come here from Alpha Centauri? Really?
Right. Plus in the debris field that, the debris that was collected, there was rope there. What would rope really be doing on a UFO?
Yeah. Well, I often joke, Mac, I say, if the aliens are listening, they don't have to come down with a whole beaming thing and knock me unconscious and, do it forcefully. You don't need to do any of that. Throw me a rope ladder. I'll climb up to you guys. Yeah. I'll take a trip. I'm down. As long as you reach me without any problems. Hey, you can probe me. I don't mind getting it out with a female alien.
Okay.
Probe away.
Jim? Without drinks and dinner? Okay.
Send me some space flour. Whatever you want, aliens, as long as you return me to my home, as long as my body doesn't hurt too much the next day, I'm cool with it. I'll climb up to you and we'll take a trip. But they find rope in the yard. Now Jesse Marcel's not an idiot. He knows the difference between material that is metal. I'm pretty sure he would know the difference between something like a weather balloon, for example. That's where the whole thing gets a little tricky.
Well, the weather balloon itself, we have a regular guest on. His name is Dr. Bob Gross, and he he'll just in 10 minutes he will prove to you that what they found was part of this top secret spy balloon operation that they had going on there, in New Mexico, and that the material that is described by the witnesses who collected the debris field is basically just this, it's a kind of mylar substance, that they make balloons out of and stuff. And, he is pretty convincing, and what they are. And to someone who has never seen this before, because it was still very top secret, it would look odd, it would look different, and so on, but the chances, basically that's what happened in Roswell. It was one of these spy balloons that crashed. In my opinion, that's what I think would happen.
Yeah, that or my theory. That I think is more credible than some aliens came down from like light years away, and our primitive radar technology somehow knocked them.
Knocked them down, right?
Knocked them down and killed like a bunch of them, and yada yada yada. And all these years later, look, there's been a huge conspiracy, and aliens have been all over the place.
Yeah.
Slow down, guys. Yeah.
Right. I'm with you.
Mac, I know that you got a jet. I know you're a busy man. Man, congratulations on the work. Yeah, I know you put in a lot of work on these books and on the show. Give us the time again for your podcast, your show. I love the show, by the way. I listen to it as much as I can. The people on there are hysterical. You guys do an awesome podcast. It's very professional, guys. It's not like we do it here live. You guys edit and do all kinds of stuff. So I'll tell the audience how to catch you and check out. Besides here on PSN Radio, which we play you all the time. Go ahead.
Thanks. It's Mac Maloney's Military X-Files, and as you say, we're on a number of networks, but we're a podcast now, so it's we're on Podbeam, but we're on iTunes, we're on iHeartRadio, Google Speak, Stitcher. We're on like 11 different kind of podcast platforms, So just type in podcast, Mac Maloney's Military X-Files, and you'll find it.
You are all over the place, my friend. As the rappers would say back in the day, you're all over the streets like 50 Cent.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I think that's a compliment.
Now, when the next book comes out, I want to read it. I have a lot of the Wingman stuff on my shelf. By the way, I have a huge collection of books, and I have a lot of your work. And I've read a lot of that stuff, and I have an operation coming up soon. So I'm going to make some time to read, more of your books. So as soon as the new stuff drops, please let me know.
Will do.
So I can go ahead and get my grubby little fingers on it and start reading along. Thank you so much for spending time with us, and have yourself a fantastic evening, my friend.
Thank you, Angel. Thanks. I enjoyed it. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Take care.
Okay. Thank you, brother.
Take care, my friend. That, everybody, is the fantastic Mack Maloney who joined us. Check out his book. It's on Amazon.com. All over the place. Just search Mack Maloney. Go to his website, MackMaloney.com, Mack Maloney's Military X-Files, .com. Just check out his podcast. Again, fantastic, series. It has a great crew on there with them, and the books are all really, really top-notch material. And once again, this is PSN Radio. Hopefully you guys are entertained by Mac and the UFO topics we got into briefly there. He made time for us, and I normally would have our guest for a full hour, but he did pre-warn me that he was having something he had to get to, so we cut it short a little bit. We're going to hit a commercial break. When we come back, I got some more news to get to, but before we do that, I have more audio that I wanted to play, so it actually worked out pretty good. Having Mac for, kind of a shorter time. Now, we did play of course, the comedians that got Adam Schiff for brains earlier, and duped him into a phony phone call where this moron believed that he was getting his hands on some naughty pictures of President Trump. Shame on Adam Schiff for brains. But let's see, we have what else we have here? Oh, Dan Bongino on Fox News talking about his book with Jesse Waters. Really good audio. You guys, you really got to listen to this. Check this audio out. We're going to hit the commercial break right after that. We're going to come back. I got a couple more articles that I'm going to read. One more clip that I want to play with author Peter Schweizer. And we're going to hit that in a couple minutes when we return. This is Jesse Waters on Fox News with Dan Bongino, and they're talking about this whole Ukraine scandal. Listen to this. Man, I love Dan Bongino. I want to have him on this show. He makes perfect sense. And when you listen to this, you're going to want to rush out and get his book. I guarantee it. Because he's, telling you exactly what's going on here. I mean, this whole thing is just a joke by the Democrats. What's happening in Washington, it's just silly, misbehaving by a bunch of losers. They can't take the results of an election in 2016. Check this audio clip out, guys.
How much you try to point this out, the hypocrisy, the fact that Obama and Biden and Hillary did the same thing to Donald Trump, except so much worse and without any evidence, and the whole call, there no quid pro quo. You have Biden on tape, all the money exchanging hands, no money exchange hands with the Trumps. They don't even listen. They don't even acknowledge the other side of the argument, and they keep steamrolling this thing along. That's why you know it's not going to work with the American people, because the American people know the whole thing's fraudulent.
You know what's hysterical, Jesse? I keep up on my phone. I'm not kidding. I write about this at length in my book. You shameless plug there, but if you allow
Go for it.
But I keep these up on my phone, these articles. There's a CNN article, I'm not getting this wrong, an article where they wrote about British intelligence passing information to the Obama administration about Trump. There's a Ken Vogel from Politico article about the Ukrainians colluding with the Obama administration
and
to
the
attack
DNC.
Donald Trump.
Yes.
At the DNC.
Yes.
And we already know Christopher Steele used 2 Russian sources close to Putin as he told the State Department for the election. And the Democrats, that's why I love when you're on the 5 and you and Juan go at it, and you ask Juan, and he goes, no, I don't remember any of that. That happened.
I know. I can't tell if he's playing dumb or, if he hasn't really read it. I mean, it doesn't take that hard. You just look it up. It's all over the place. It's frustrating.
Jesse, it's on the interweb.
Yeah,
just Google the article.
It's not like it's not like it's just on FoxNews.com. I mean, it's the Politico, it's the New York Times. The whole thing is a joke. Dan, I'm glad you have this attitude.
To find it,
I know. I'm glad you and I have this attitude. You heard my words at the top of the show. I'm just kind of like, hey guys, you've been wanting to do this the whole time. Just do it. Get it out of your system. It's a psychological thing with them. They have to impeach. Then maybe they can take a breather and figure out what's really bothering them. I don't know how you fight this thing because they don't listen to facts. You can try to say you're wrong, but they don't listen. So go for it and stop wasting everyone's time.
Let's get everybody on the record, get on the House floor, and raise your right hand and say in front of the American people you don't believe in foreign collusion. Because remember, Jesse, the Republicans, if there's an impeachment trial, they'll have subpoena power too because it's a trial. You sure you want to open that door, Democrats? I'm not so sure that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to call Adam Schiff as a witness and then play the phone
Hillary
call.
Clinton?
Yeah, they're going to play
Steele?
Adam Schiff's phone call where he's trying to get naked pictures of Trump. I mean, you're right. I mean, this thing could circulate out of control. Who else could they call? I mean, where's this thing going? Where is this
Trump
going?
will leave office with 70% approval if they do it.
I mean, that's what happened with Bill Clinton.
It's political suicide. Yeah, he left office with 60% approval.
Great economy.
Because, listen, it was a tactical bad... And he actually did things wrong.
Yeah.
This is all made up.
That's the point.
Stupid idea.
Newt Gingrich said the same thing. He said that we had felonies on this guy. You know, we had his... he was disbarred. I mean, he was on video.
Yeah.
You know, the whole thing was all there.
Right.
And they left. They won
Absolutely.
the Senate. It won Senate seats in 98. And he had, 55, 59% approval. I don't... The Democrats don't see it.
The American people want to pick their own presidents. They don't want sleazy Adam Schiff doing it for obvious reasons. Just look at him. He's a total liar.
All right, so the book's out. It's going to be good. I know you're going to get a lot of promotion. What is the main thing you want people to take away from this read?
That they tried this before. I lay out in the book, this is a movie script. They already tried this, blank colluded with the Russians on John McCain before. They based it on what I call a movie script. You read about it in the book. I promise it's going to open your eyes. It's been blowing people away so far. So I appreciate the question.
Well,
thanks,
it's perfectly timed for the second witch hunt. I can't believe we have to do this all over again. All right, at least we have the blueprint if we want to get, just some cliff notes to check out how it all went down before. All right, Dan Bongino, there he is.
Now you can share the topics that drive the discussions of your favorite talk shows with TalkStream Live's topic-driven talk radio. List and promote real-time talk radio topics, or post the topics that you want to hear. Hot topics are tweeted and retweeted, and include simple click-to-listen audio links. The future of talk radio is topic-driven talk radio. Available now at TalkStreamLive.com.
The George Rodriguez Show. Who? I said the George Rodriguez Show. You don't know George Rodriguez?
Wasn't he the guy that filled in for Neil Rogers?
Yes. That George Rodriguez.
What's he like?
Oh, he's a short little Cuban feller. Kind of funny looking.
Well, when's he on?
12 to 3, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on SoFloRadio.com and SoFloRadio.net. The George Rodriguez Show is much more than adequate.
Have you heard Mack Maloney lately?
In your military career, did you ever see anything that came close to an unusual UFO sighting or...
No.
Holy that was the 10 seconds of no. What are you?
That was so convincing.
Yeah. What are you trying to say there?
Well, UFO is an innocuous term.
That's the worst fucking denial I've ever heard.
Unidentified flying object.
Mack Maloney's Military X-Files, Friday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern on the public streaming radio network.
Elizabeth Taylor, movie legend. We lost her too soon. Gone, but not forgotten. Now, you can own an authentic piece of movie history. Elizabeth Taylor's Ashes. In a small commemorative urn.
Remember, I want you to forget me, please.
For just $29.95 plus shipping and handling, we'll send you an ounce of real superstar soot. Elizabeth Taylor, movie legend. You can have a piece of her forever.
Command performances leave me quite cold.
Call today. Hurry. Quantities are limited.
I want to drop La Bamba. I want to help the countries in the war against the Sandinistas. 'Cause I don't want the commies at our back door. We'll just bypass Congress. We'll just sell some missiles to Iran. We'll say it's all Poindexter's plan. Ollie North was a hero. His IQ is zero. Did what he was told with those weapons he sold for Iranian gold. Everybody! On Nicaragua. And on the Ayatollah. Let's reflag those tankers. Give Khomeini a canker sore on his lip, boy, you'll know that is painful. But you know he deserves it, that tow-headed treat, 'cause his girlfriend's a sheep. On the Ayatollah.
Now, let's talk about corruption here, folks. Let's really dig deep into corruption. But before we do that, I want to thank our past guest here, who spent a lovely 30 minutes with us on Inside the Jackal's Head, Mr. Mack Maloney. Thank you so much, Mac, once again for being with us. And again, guys, check out his books. Now, if you're in the market for a new vehicle, and you're down south in the Miami Homestead area, check out a little place called LA Motors. I recently bought a car from them. Fantastic, dealing with the owner's wife. Her name is Anna. Call her up. She's the person in the office to deal with. She is fantastic. I should say the owner, because her and her husband are the owners. But they're just amazing folks to deal with. Check them out, LAMotorsMiami.com. Website is fully operational, as Darth Vader would say. It is current with, I believe, all the current inventory and fully loaded for you to go and check them out. Like I said, I bought my Volkswagen Passat recently from them. Had a couple of things that cars, when you buy used cars, it's going to have a couple of different things. They're going to, they've been very helpful along the way. So they've been fantastic with me. And again, I got a really good deal on the car. So again, check them out, LAMotorsMiami.com. And now, let's get back to this audio clip you guys need to check out. This is Joe Biden talking about Ukraine and about the prosecutor bragging. If this is not corruption, guys, I don't know what is. Okay? I read to you the transcript. You know what the President of the United States said. You can read it for yourself at my website, angelespinal.com. It's all there. He wasn't colluding with Russia. Now, just think about this. If he is colluding with Russia, if Trump and Putin are in bed together, why is he asking about ending corruption with a country that is not exactly on good terms with Russia? Sounds to me like our president is doing his job. And Zelensky, the president of the Ukraine, who is a new guy, he's just won the presidency. He's trying to do right by his people. He seems like a very honest individual. He was voted in. He's a young guy. He's bringing, this mentality to his country to try to get him out of the swamp and into becoming a respectable country in Europe. And the rest of Europe should really help and support Ukraine and back Ukraine. And now, let's talk about the previous administrations. They had very crooked and corrupt. And Joe Biden did something very naughty. And I think this, guys, is part of the swamp that the left doesn't want to get involved in draining. Now remember, Trump has been accused of sleeping with Stormy Daniels and maybe covering it up. Maybe not. Who knows? Her lawyer's going to prison or is indicted in some crazy, thing. She didn't want to testify because there was nothing there. And that was, decades ago? So he's been accused of that. There was, of course, the Billy Bush thing, the whole Russia hoax that lasted 2.5 years and $35 million later, which now, after the Mueller report, we know that's a big turd and there's nothing there. So we've got all this, nothing, on a guy who, before he ran, everybody loved him. He had the #1 TV show in America. You're fired. Remember, that's the guy we hired. Now if he fires somebody, everybody's like, oh my God, he fired another guy. America, you hired the you fired guy. Just remember that. So don't be shocked when he's saying you fired to somebody who doesn't meet his standards, because he's a business guy. He wants things done. And if you're not doing your job, he lets you know and he gets rid of you and then replaces you. That's how business is done. He's not a lawyer. And I think that's part of, the shtick that America loved about him when he had his show. And, now it's funny to see everybody shocked. The culture has changed and everybody's, shocked every time he sneezes. He's such a bad guy. This guy can go to the bathroom and take a dump without being, you see, Trump took a dump. Impeach him! Nasty Nancy Pelosi wanted to impeach the president without even seeing the transcript, guys. She said it herself. I don't need to see the transcript. What transcript? Who cares? We're impeaching him. He's crooked. He's corrupt. But Nancy, there's been no proof of that. And but we're going to have an inquiry. They've been doing that since he swore that he would become president at day one. You guys have been trying to impeach him. Well, now we know he's involved in a conspiracy. Yeah, he is. One caused by you, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Jerry Nadler, the Fraud Squad 4, which AOC, Elam Rashad, whatever her name is, Omar, all 4 of those fraudulent chicks who need to be deported. Everybody who conspired with Hillary to create the fake dossier or whatever, Steele, Adam Schiff for brains, all these people who colluded with the actual hoaxing of the documents. And I hope that William Barr, I hope his investigation really gets to the bottom of all this stuff. And I really do hope that it all comes out and it's open for everybody to see, because the election is coming. And I tell you what, it's kind of ironic that it's next year, and yet they're so pressured to impeach and remove them. What are you so afraid of? Are you scared that you can't beat him, so you gotta take him on like some kind of mob head? Is that what's going on? Because, you got a bunch of losers on your end going for president, let's be honest. Corky Booger, really? That's the best you can do? Andrew Young, the fake crier, really? Mr. Pocahontas? Bernie Sanders, who's a crazy old man who is a complete extreme socialist? I know the left has gone radical social, but Jesus. There's not one good candidate on the left side. And I was at one point a registered Democrat. I'm ashamed of that. I really am. But let's listen to Creepy Joe in his own voice brag.
Gotten a commitment from Poroshenko they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here, and I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time.
Well, it just so happens that the general prosecutor was investigating an energy firm in which Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, was heavily invested. Burisma Holdings is an energy corporation in Ukraine, and Hunter Biden, the son of the former vice president, has made a rather handsome profit from it, especially in the aftermath of the 2014 events in Ukraine, in which pro-EU forces took power. That prosecutor was looking into 3 different instances of foul play from Hunter's cash cow.
Hunter's cash cow. Just remember that, guys, if you take anything away tonight. This is what's really happening here. Joe Biden and his son were involved in nefarious activities when he was the vice president. They made a lot of money. They made off like Madoff and made a ton of money illegally using Ukraine. They got a person fired who was looking into the corruption with the company that Hunter Biden was involved in, that was giving him all this money illegally. And this was all sanctioned and backed by Obama and his administration, who was profiting from this as well. Illegally. They were breaking the law. And now we're going to hopefully find out who else was involved. Why is Jerry Nadler so deep in wanting to remove Trump? Why is Nancy Pelosi so quick to want to impeach? These are things that we really need to ask ourselves. If we, look, impeachment doesn't mean that he's going to be removed from office. Bill Clinton went through that. Remember, guys, he was impeached. He did his 8 years. And he openly lied to the nation, said, and I remember this like it was yesterday, guys, because I was a Bill Clinton fan. I saw him play that saxophone on the Arsenio Hall and Arsenio Hall show, and I was like, "That's a cool dude, man. If I could vote, I'd vote for that guy." And he seemed like a cool fella at the time, but then he sat up there and he lied to the American people. He said, "I do not have sexual relations with that woman." God knows he was getting a blowjob by that woman, as he was saying that, who knows. But then, of course, we all found out later, and we know the history there. I don't need to reiterate what happened afterwards. But he got caught with his pants down. His, soldiers ended up on her dress, and the rest is history. And we know that he lied because he then openly admitted it. He got impeached. Did he lose his presidency over it? No. But he became president second term, blew up in the Republicans' face. And I think history is about to, probably happen again here. But I don't think there's going to be enough to actually go through an impeachment process. I think what's going to end up happening is the Democrats are going to keep shooting themselves in the foot. They're going to try to, have their impeachment hearing. It's going to go through the election. Trump is going to end up winning, probably easily. We're going to see Elizabeth Warren probably talk about who she's using as a running mate, which at this point I wouldn't be shocked if it's Hillary Clinton, because guess who's backing Elizabeth Pocahontas? Financially and spiritually and all kinds of other ways. Yeah, that's right. Hillary Clinton's her partner in crime. She's Hillary 2.0, guys. And wouldn't shock me if we have a Warren Clinton ticket announced at some point. Now, for you Bernie Sanders fans, and they're going to feel the burn when he doesn't win anything and he doesn't go anywhere. He's never going to be president. It's just, you know what? I never say never. Because they're trying really hard to rig this election. So I'm never going to say never. They tried 2016. They failed. Trump still beat them. And they have not been able to let that go. That is what's happening here. They cannot let the results of 2016 go. So they must continue to try to impeach because they have nothing else. They can't beat the guy. So when you can't beat him, you take him out like a mob, like a mafia. And who's behind all this stuff financially? George Soros, the deep state. A lot of people are behind what's going on. All you got to do is open your eyes and kind of really pay attention to what's going on. Now, there's an author, Peter Schweizer, who was brilliantly talking about this, and I really want you guys to listen to this. This is the last audio clip I'm going to play for the night here. And then I got, let me see, a few minutes before we wrap up. And I'm going to give a couple of shout-outs before the show's over, the whole 9 yards. But check this out. This is Peter Schweizer and his take.
To get involved with a company that is as dirty and as crooked as Burisma. Ukraine is a beautiful country, wonderful people. It's one of those countries that's been saddled with corruption really since the fall of communism, even during the communist period. So it's one of the most corrupt countries in the world. Burisma is one of the most corrupt companies in a country that is one of the most corrupt in the world. So it's a very bad actor. It's headed by a oligarch named Zlochevsky, who was involved with the Yanukovych government, the pro-Russian government. So these are very bad and dirty guys, and Hunter Biden signs up, and based on financial records that came out in a court case, he was being given $83,000 a month by Burisma. He kept that job from 2014 up until earlier this year. So he basically took in about $3 million for a job that he had no background in, and he was selling something. It was not his expertise. I think he was selling access, and I think that he was selling the prospect that he was going to be helpful to the Ukrainians in the Obama administration.
So it's unbelievable, and Joe Biden said, I never knew anything about it, said that over the weekend, but in the New Yorker article, Hunter Biden even admitted, he said, I told my dad what I'm doing, he said, I hope you're being careful. He says, I am, Dad. Is he being careful? But then, so this gets exposed. No one ever picks up on it. The president's intrigued by this, and he asked Rudy Giuliani to start hunting down a few leads, and that comes up in this conversation. Do you find that strange?
No, I don't. I mean, look, I think that what people are trying to focus on is that, oh, well, Joe Biden's running for president, so this is a political hit. My view is this has been a persistent problem with both Republicans and Democrats in Washington, where they go to these countries around the world where there's a lot of corruption and cronyism, and they cash in. They sell access. They sell, I'm related to this powerful politician or that powerful politician. And Hunter Biden did that big time, and that's not something we want done in this country. I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat. I mean, secret empires, there's exposés on Republicans as well. So the notion that Trump should not mention Joe Biden's name in a phone conversation and say, hey, can you just work with our attorney general to get to the bottom of what actually happened?
There you go, guys. That's Peter Schweizer. Check him out and check out his book. And, we've had an interesting week. Let's see, there's one more thing I wanted to get to before I forget. Let's see. Yeah, I got to the, Pete, I got to the Catholic priest thing earlier. Yeah, Pete's reminding me about that. I guess he wasn't paying attention. Oh, this is interesting. Just ending on Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren. If you guys weren't aware, Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren just a few days ago also came out saying they support taxpayer-funded transgender surgery. So that's something else to keep in the back of your mind, guys. Both Democrat frontrunners for 2020 nomination of their party, the Democrats, Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden, think that American taxpayers should pay for gender transition surgeries for transgenders. The Democrat candidate spoke on the issue at a LGBTQ forum called GLAAD in Iowa, where Biden made a pledge to cover transgender surgery under Obamacare, if he's, of course, elected president. He said, and I quote, "It does cover the surgery, it does cover transgender people, it does across the board." After bashing President Trump for removing gender transition surgery from the Affordable Care Act, Biden went on to say, and I quote, "Every LGBTQ person, as well as anyone else, should be able to have full health care without any limitations. No doctor can deny you. No hospital can tell you you can't get the service. It is simply against the law when I'm president." Now, is that colluding with the LGBTQ transgender community at all, guys? Do you think that's Joe Biden trying to get their vote? Is he putting pressure on them, saying, "Hey, vote for me. I'm going to give you back what the president took away"? So, why is that okay when he does it, but when our president's congratulating the head of another country for winning an election, he says, "By the way, this guy's crooked. You want to look into him? Oh no, we got to impeach that guy." Once again, guys, keep that in the back of your minds. Your taxpayer money is going to go to some dude who wants to chop his penis off, and some chick wants to lop her titties off, and that's going to be law. That's where we're heading in this country. If you elect either Pocahontas or creepy Joe Biden, who gets creepier by the day, guys. He really, really does. Now we're all out of time, and we've got to run. This has been a fun show of Inside the Jackals Head. I wanted to leave you with that little nugget of information, a little insight into what the future holds if you vote for the left in 2020. We'll be back next week with another fascinating episode, another fantastic show. Again, guys, if you want to get the podcast, go to enjoyspinal.com. It'll be live within a few minutes. Free, as always. You don't have to pay for it. Not now, anyway. Maybe in the future. I don't know yet. But for now, it's still live and free. Shout outs to all the listeners who were on with me tonight. And again, thanks to Mr. Mack Maloney for being our guest for a good 30 minutes. Solid half an hour with him. We hope to have him back on in the future. Again, on psn-radio.com.